Hello and welcome back, Bass Fan Bass, to Bar Band Bass with Jonaldon Tate. I want to start with a confession, and that is that I have not been practicing enough lately, and I did lose my calluses. And then I had a show coming up, and I panicked just a little bit. We played 3 sets, and they went from approximately 50 minutes to an hour each, and so it was about 3 hours of playing. But by the end, these two fingers didn't hurt at all. They didn't hurt. So today I'm here to share how I was able to pull that off. It can really hurt to play for 3, 1 hour sets. And by the end of the third set, I'm economizing my playing because it just hurts so much when I pluck every note with these poor 2 fingers. I've got a tip for you today that I think will help you to no end, as it has done for me. Now, for today's tip, you do not need an amplifier, you do not need any special equipment, all you need is your bass. Now, you can do this while you watch your cat videos, or your people who are famous for pretending to be other people, whatever you like. It's not that loud. And if you wanted to do it with headphones on, it's not necessary for you to be able to hear it. The very best way to build up the calluses on your fingers, and of course your technique as well, is to practice. Practice a lot. But I don't have time to practice as much as I would need to really build them up. So I've had to look for alternatives. Now, there are lots of alternatives out there. One of them is just moving your fingers over the strings like this to try to build up the calluses. It hasn't really worked for me, and I have tried it for a few weeks, and it didn't really do very much. I almost wonder whether I was rubbing the calluses off as much as I was putting them on. When I was driving, I tried to rub my fingers over a part on the armrest of the car as though I was plucking the string. Also not very effective. But the way that I was able to build up my calluses so that I really didn't have any pain whatsoever. What I do is get my bass in the position that I use when I'm actually playing a gig. Make sure that it's positioned the same. And the reason is, if the angle isn't quite right, I won't be building up the right section so that the callus is in the right place for when I'm playing standing up. So here's the technique, and it's really quite simple. I mute the strings with my left hand, and I pick a string, and I just pluck pretty hard. Harder than I usually would have when I was practicing. If I do this as if I was actually playing, and I'm plucking quite hard, my fingers will get tired. There's a lot of strain on these muscles here in my fingers. But if I just position my fingers and I just use my arm to pull them, I'm not really using the muscles in my fingers at all. All I'm doing is pressing them against the strings a little bit, but I'm not doing this, okay? And because they're different lengths, you can hear it kind of has that galloping sound. So I'm really using the muscle in my arm rather than the muscles in my fingers. And just a few minutes of this a day, starting say 2 weeks prior to a gig, you will build up those amazing calluses, and you will not feel the pain in the end of the second set and for the third set that you would otherwise. So that's my technique. You can see here, it's really my arm that's doing the pulling, and I am pressing quite hard. But that is building up the calluses amazingly well. You can see even already, they've started getting that darker gray, black coloration from the nickel in the strings. And that's what you want. You want to sort of rub off some string onto your finger. See, my fingers, I could do this for a long time because my fingers are not getting tired. So supposing you do this for, 5-10 minutes a day, starting, say, 2 weeks before your gig. By the time you get to your gig, there's no question, you will have really nice calluses on your fingers and no pain. Now, I should mention, I did this for a few weeks prior to my gig. There was no point during that time when I really felt any pain in my fingers. It just gradually built it up. There have been times when I played a long gig, my fingers hurt like crazy, I couldn't even type for the next few days. I could have played a gig after that. Quite hard, not hard enough to break a string or anything, of course, but just hard enough that it's really affecting my fingers. So now that I know this technique, I am going to do this a little bit every day, keep those calluses up, and then the next time I play a gig, I won't have to worry about, oh, it's 2 weeks in advance, so I better start building my fingers up. No. They'll already be ready for it. So that's my advice for today. Nice thing is you don't need an amp. It's actually quite quiet if you are watching a television program or videos on YouTube. no problem. You can certainly do that and keep that up while you're doing it. It's just mindless, right? If you have headphones, you could certainly use those, and you won't even really hear that clicking noise. I'm muting the strings as much as I can. If you do it in a place where there's a harmonic, it can be kind of annoying, so I try to find a place on the neck where there's no harmonics, so I don't hear any tone. All I hear is that fairly quiet click. But that really worked for me. That really worked. Honestly, I was anticipating having pain at the end of the show, and fortunately, with a little bit of advanced training for my fingers, nothing. They felt great. Thank you very much for watching Bar Band Bass with Jonald and Tate, and enjoy your playing.